Can we get this going? Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to a Happy Breath Hour. I'm your host, Roberto Suarez, better known as El Happy Coach. And before we get started, let's take a 2 or 3 cyto reliefs, which is like inhaling through your nose for 2 or 3 seconds and then exhaling through the mouth, but relaxing your body so we can let it all go and just be present for this. It's going to be, I think, a real powerful, 30, 45-minute conversation with our guest today. So let's take a deep breath through the nose. So let's all inhale for 2 or 3 seconds. Inhale. Then exhale, let it go. Relax those shoulders. Inhale. Exhale. Let's do it a couple more times. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. So notice how you're feeling. Connect to the energy. Connect to your heart. Let those thoughts go and just be present. And our topic today, it's being real and flowing with ArkFi. And Donatello, I don't even know your last name, but it's you always put Donatello Investments, right? He's our guest today. He's a self-taught cryptocurrency enthusiast who he dove headfirst into the world of DeFi after a friend introduced to him in 2019. So he was a little skeptical at the beginning, but he quickly became fascinated by the potential of decentralized finance, which we call DeFi, and the power of blockchain technology, eventually building his own community and YouTube channel. Now he's branching out to Twitter to educate others in the ups and downs of crypto, from making mistakes and learning valuable lessons to discovering new opportunities and potential investments. He's excited to continue sharing his knowledge and wisdom with others and being part of this rapidly evolving, transformative industry. So welcome, Donatello. How are you?
Doing well. Excited
Yeah.
to come this stream and have this dialogue, this conversation.
Okay. So to get started, before you got into this whole world, can you give us a little background, what you used to do, what you went through? I know that you're very you got this powerful, I don't know, it's like almost divine energy when you are talking.
How far you want me to go back?
You go as far as you want, because that's part of it, right? Like the whole thing about breathing and all that, it's bringing that energy, bringing that connection, and if that's something that, and I know that you value that, right? And we can talk a little bit about that, because how it can help somebody be clear, connected, right? And be able to make better decisions. And then, and we can bring ArkFi into whatever it is. This is open, mic. There's no.
Yeah. I can give a history of me and who I was and where I come from and family background.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be perfect. Go ahead and get that going.
Yeah, I just like to be real. The guy that most people see these days is not the same guy I used to be years ago. I grew up in family as a kid. As a kid, grew up, around drugs and drug lifestyle, around living street life. Growing up, I did play sports football. Was pretty good at it. But through the time of how my family was structured growing up, you either are a drug dealer or you are or you play sports, you play football. So you do one or the other. One going out raising, seeing what life was like and learning from my, some of my uncles and all that. One of my uncles I really looked up to, he was a pretty big drug dealer and did very, very well for himself selling drugs, So that's what I looked up to. That's the lifestyle that I chose as a kid. You know, my high school goal, which is crazy, I talk about it now, was to either sell drugs for the rest of my life or make it in football. So them were my two choices that I chose.
Wow.
But through through the path, I always say that my grandmother growing up, my dad died when I was a baby, so I never got to really know my dad. My mom was young when she had me, so my grandma took me under her wing, and it was my grandma, my granddad. That's kind of, I looked at them like my mom and dad growing up, so they kind of taught me a lot of stuff, and I learned a lot of things through life, through my granddad, that kind of helped structure me in the man I am today. Uh, I say my granddad structured me into the man, but my uncle structured me into the lifestyle that I thought I wanted. And having that grandma, I always say my grandma was my prayer covering growing up. She was always praying for me and stuff. So, but I've experienced a lot from being robbed at gunpoint, from being involved with a gang called KB. Growing up, I was actually one of the leaders of the gang when I was young, and we had our group and stuff. But as time progressed on, I made connections through some individual. Well, I wouldn't say individuals, through someone through the college, which is kind of where I work at today. Is the program that kind of got me on a track to change my life. And but throughout that process, um, what really got me into education, because growing up, I really didn't look at education the way I look at it today, is that, after graduating high school, I didn't get my goal of playing football. So, of course, I chose to go back to the street and sell drugs. So,
Yeah.
so that's what I did. And then I got a phone call from the college. I'll pay you to go to school if you come up to school. So I was like, oh, you gonna pay me to go to school? Of course I'm gonna go to school. So then I met this guy, and he went to explaining to me about, these different aspects throughout the life, kind of coaching me through the process, still doing my thing, selling drugs. One thing I can say, I'm thankful that I never really got into no serious trouble, and I think that's where the prayers come in and that covering. And then over time, running into different people, and then different aspects, and kind of got me rethinking things and where I was and all that. Then after that, a couple years later, well, when in high school I met my wife. She was my girlfriend then, but then we got together. She was kind of part of that process of my change. And then I ended up working at a prison. Never had thoughts about working at a prison. Going and doing that, and I think that was another process, for me to see I don't want to be in this type of environment. So I worked there for I think it was 9 years.
Wow.
And during working at the prison, where I worked at, there was they believe in rehabilitation. So changing the mindset of these inmates to a different mindset so that they don't come back to prison. So with that process of being there, working there, I started picking up books and reading them. Before then, I didn't even like reading. I don't want to read no book. I love math, and that was good. But then come to find out, books, man, there's a lot of knowledge in books. So I started reading books, gaining a lot of knowledge, and then that continued to propel me. And then later on, position came open here at the job I'm currently at, working at prison, being a mentor, a coach to some of the youth, kind of taking them on the right path. A lot of them don't have no kind of direction of where they want to be, where they want to go. So that's where me and some of my coworkers come in, and we guide them through the process and take them on the path to becoming very successful. But during that whole process of going through all that, learning all that, that's in the middle of that is where my exposure to crypto came in, and I was able to take that, dive into that, and learn the crypto aspect and all that. But it's so much more to the story, but that's just a kind of a glimpse of where I was, where I come from, and where I am now. It's a little glimpse.
Wow. what a story.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Like uh, it's almost like the universe, God, whatever was taking you to where you needed to go, because
Yeah.
so many people
Mm-hmm.
just go the other way. I when I went to high school, I played football. I actually played football, basketball, and baseball, and then
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going to Rutgers in a football scholarship. But I was 5'7", 150
Yeah, yeah.
pounds. But I played back in the old days with Nad Moore and those guys in
Mm-hmm.
Miami. I played for
Mm-hmm.
Columbus. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I was close to going the other way
Mm-hmm.
because that's when all the marijuana stuff and drugs started
Mm-hmm.
coming in, and a lot of my friends went that way. Some of them did good, some you know uh,
Mm-hmm.
most of them are alive, or they're
Yeah,
dying
yeah.
off now.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you could go. It's real easy to just
Mm-hmm.
boom, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So thank you for sharing that story. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important for people to know that there's always, it can just happen right now, right? And your
Mm-hmm.
life can change because you're having a
Mm-hmm.
conversation with somebody, and and if you're clear enough, you have an
Mm-hmm.
angel in front of you, and you're having a conversation, and you're listening instead of
Mm-hmm.
listening to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when we listen to ourselves, it's coming from what you know.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's, if your life is not working, you might
Mm-hmm.
want to change that. You don't have
Yeah.
to, but if
Mm-hmm.
you can shift that and I call it, that's why I use the breath, is to get people
Mm-hmm.
to more of a quiet mind so they can listen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so so thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
And I
Uh,
and even even when it comes to, I believe in planting seeds because I think through the years, my granddad, he's a very important figure in my life. And he used to always tell me things. As a kid I didn't listen,
yeah.
but he kept telling me, and still to this day, his words play in my mind. When something happens and that he told me to do something, I can hear his voice because he's planted a seed in me. I didn't listen at the moment, but I'm
Mhm.
listening now. And even
Yeah.
with the kids that I talk
Yeah,
to
that
now,
was
I
going into your subconscious.
subconscious, yeah, yeah. So them seeds, I believe, anybody that ever listened to this video, the same thing. You know, don't take it for granted if you're planting seeds in someone's life because they may not listen now, but you're still planting seeds. And if it's great advice and that thing comes about again, they're gonna remember that. Even if they don't listen now, they'll remember it later, especially with kids. And I have to
Yeah.
remind myself about my daughter too, because I teach her things, and she don't listen. But I continue to plant these seeds, good seeds, not bad ones, but good seeds in her life.
Yeah.
And I know, just like as a plant, when you plant something in the ground, it doesn't just burst out of the ground.
Mhm.
It takes time, it takes nurturing. You have to fertilize it, you have to water it, you have to do all that. But eventually it'll pop out of the ground, and then
Absolutely.
it'll continue to grow if you take care of it. And it's the same
Absolutely.
analogy when it comes to life and when it comes to people.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Like my grandfather was also my idol. I
Mm-hmm.
was lucky. I had my father, and he was very successful, and I loved him, and he passed. And my mother's still alive, and she's a trooper. We were 12 kids,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but my grandfather was considered the best athlete Cuba ever had, and
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
top coaches ever. And
Mm-hmm.
he coached for many years, and he was actually my coach, like when I was growing up, and he never
Mm-hmm.
made me wrong
Mm-hmm.
with all the craziness that I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He
yeah.
would never make me wrong. Like if I strike out and I throw the bat, he goes, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
listen, it's okay to throw the bat, but don't throw it. You don't know, it might hit somebody. Throw it down in the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
hurt somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Shit like that, right? But he
Mm-hmm.
never made me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And like what were you saying? And everything that they taught, I can see from now. I go, wow, those are, little things that him and my father too, and my mother, but he was my idol. I was just following him like a little kid all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to have those mentors.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah,
Everyone needs one.
yeah, we were lucky.
Yeah,
We were lucky to have
yeah,
somebody like that, and because a lot of
yeah.
people don't.
And that's what a lot of I see, in my job, a lot of kids are missing that. They're missing a great leader or a great mentor, someone to talk to. And
Mhm.
sometimes, sometimes with the kids that we talk to, sometimes they just don't have an ear. They don't have an ear to be able to talk to someone, because their parents are too busy,
Mhm.
or even they're just not listening.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and these kids, some of them, they just need someone just to listen to them. And that's what we see a lot, and it makes such a big difference. I've had kids come in, and they said they turned around, but then someone brought them back, and I asked them the question, "Why didn't you come?" And they said, "Oh, because most people, they just all about money. So I thought y'all was just here just to make money. But that's not our analogy. We want to help you. We really deeply want to help you, and it's not about the money." And I share with them, even the job that I left to come here, I took a pay cut to come here, because of the difference the program made for me. And I know what it can do for other kids. And I share that with them. And then over time, as we work together, they see like these people really care for me. And then that causes them to care about themselves,
Mhm.
and it's just such a great thing.
Yeah, it's transformational because you're like one of the first persons that listened to them from a
Hmm.
space of not wanting to get anything out of them,
Yeah.
or making them do something or whatever. So
Mhm.
it shifts, that the problem is how do you keep that going, like if they
Yeah.
leave and they get caught up in the stuff again, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
whew.
Yeah. I agree.
So anyway, that's awesome, awesome. Now you were doing all this, and all of a sudden crypto came into your world, and then
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
happened? What are you doing now? And
Mm.
what would it's almost like, what would you tell your 21-year-old self about crypto now, as an
Yeah.
opportunity?
Well, it's life changing, and I can, I've actually I've had a few businesses, even at the points of doing crypto. I had my own brand. I also ran a resale online store, just taking like
Hmm.
we, we call it liquidation
Hmm.
products, like store returns, taking them, reselling them. So I did that for a while, to the point to where, I'm investing in crypto, and I'm like, is it worth continuing to do that, or is it worth just focusing on crypto? Because I'm looking at my amount that I'm bringing in. I'm like, I make more money in crypto, so why am I wasting my time over here? So I was like, there's no waste, there's no reason for me even running this. I can put all my focus on crypto because I'm making more money,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I got as I educated myself, starting back from the time I started. Actually, when I started in crypto, I started using Coinbase. Coinbase was my first
Yeah, that's what I
investment.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Now back then when I started, they didn't offer KYC. You just put your email, you get on there, and you buy your crypto with your debit card. That's
Hmm.
before the KYC. And but now they do all the KYC stuff. But when I bought, they didn't use that. So I started with Coinbase. Then I started, after a while, after about maybe 6 7 months, watching some YouTube videos, and then I heard this DeFi thing. What is DeFi? So
uh,
not knowing, I'm investing in crypto, I'm participating, but I'm not really in DeFi. I'm using a
yeah,
centralized, exchange to be
finance.
able to invest. So I learned about that. Then I was like, now how do I get money on this? So did some more research, got some money in Ethereum. That's back when Ethereum was a lot cheaper. It wasn't crazy, prices wasn't
Hmm.
crazy. You know, you can buy crypto for like $1 and something on Ethereum. So
Wow.
Ethereum was really cheap then too. I think Ethereum was maybe around maybe about $400 or $500 or something like that. Bitcoin was really cheap. So I had invested in Bitcoin, had some Ethereum. But what I did, you know, well, let me stay where I'm at. So I
Mhm.
started investing in Ethereum, looking at other projects, buying like Chainlink, buying Matic, you know, before it became Polygon, and buying all these tokens. And then I, hearing the analogy when when Atlas talking about, oh, we're going to Polygon. I'm like, I remember when Polygon wasn't even talking about a blockchain, or
Yeah.
Matic wasn't even talking about a blockchain. And I used to hold like over like 15, 20,000 tokens at one time. And I sold
Wow.
a lot of it before it being actually rallied. And I made a lot of dumb mistakes, being an early investor and selling too early and all that. And also, learning from my mistakes is spreading myself too thin, meaning I got hundreds of cryptos, but they're like I spread so thin because I see what they're working on. Like, man, this would be a great investment. This would be a great investment. But why don't I just focus on 10 good ones, 5 to 10 good ones, learn about them, and invest in these 5 to 10 good cryptos first, and this is speaking for new investors.
Yes.
Find you a few that you like. Find you an area, whether you're into the ROI dApps, whether you're into the exchanges regarding the DEXs, whether you're into insurance, whether you're into NFTs. Don't spread yourself too thin by investing in all these cryptos when you can focus on a few and make a lot of money on a few. And then over time, you can kind of dibble dabble into more. And that's the mistake that I made because I could have made a lot more and then at the same time, selling too early. Like for instance, when Matic ran up, I had all this Matic. I think it went up to like 20, what? I went up to like, I think it went up like 50 cents or something like that. I dumped a lot of it off. I dumped the whole bag. Matter of fact, I dumped the whole bag. But what I should have did was I dumped some of it, take some profit out, let the rest ride. Then
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
started. I would have still been in the game, but I would have still got my profit, and I'd have made more. And that's just something I had to learn over time. There's so much lessons to learn in DeFi. It's so much to learn. It's a new industry. There's a lot of terminology you got to learn. There's a lot of different aspects within the industry. But through time, I've learned a lot, and I'm just excited where I am now today.
And and how did you get into Ark? And
Well, even with art, I would have to start a little bit earlier because even that, because I was in Bankroll Flow. Bankroll Flow was one of the first ROI that's similar to Ark that I got into.
Mhm.
So back then, actually, I started following Trayvon James. He's known in the crypto space. So I started following him. He was in something called Bankroll Flow. I invested a little bit in Bankroll Flow. Looking at the whole concept of it, with BT, I was like, man, this is gonna be life changing. Like I told my wife, I was like, give us about a year, we're
Yeah.
gonna be good. You gotta worry about nothing. And then it was building up, I was compounding my rewards. It was going really well. And then BT decided to change the contract. And then
Mm.
that's where everything messed up and bankroll flow started going down. Some people had hope. I still tried to have hope in it. But it never got back to where it was. And
Mhm.
um and a lot of people made a lot of money, because I think it bankroll flow nuts at around 2 or 3 cents, ran up to about I think around close to $2. And then after the change it just went down. Then after that, um drip came along. And when drip came along, I knew about it from the beginning. But since I got burnt on bankroll flow, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna invest in this thing. So what I did was I did invest some, but I didn't go as heavy as I should have. But what Forex did, he tried to get BT to come together, and he wanted them to work together because he seen what Bankroll Flow had built, and it was a great concept, and it was a great DApp, and he see that how he could have made something better and made it different. So he did that, and Drip, I was in that from like the beginning. I didn't go as hard, like some may have that made a lot of money, but I was in there from the beginning, invested in that. I've done very well. I've got a lot of money out of Drip, a whole lot. It has funded a lot of my other investments. It actually was one of the investments that funded my ARK investment. Drip and Furio funded my ARK investment. So, and then that came along. You had other like Splash. You had Furio. You had all these dApps. They were just launching out of nowhere. And for me, I don't just look at the dApp. I look at the teams behind the dApp. And that's important for me, people that have been in the space for a while, that I know, that I talk to, what are they doing, stuff like that. That's kind of what I look at when it comes to these type of dApps. So I got into all these. I didn't get into all of them, but I got into the ones that I trusted the most. And then I know Atlas, they launched what was called. They launched a dApp before ARK. I forgot what the name of it was. So I got into that, and invested in that. Then I got to know Atlas. I got to know the team. I was like, these really good people, I think, and they started talking about what they're building and how they're building it, and what made me really want to get into it is because first of all, they took their time. Second of all, they studied all the other dApps that I had done before. And what they did was take pieces from here to there that worked and redesigned it to what we see now as ARK. And, and I was kind of in that conversation too, with kind of development, what we should do, what do you see that's happening out there that we don't see. So I was in that conversation with them, also discussing that. But I got an opportunity to get into the cell when it launched. So I pulled the trigger, got into it with as much as I could. I did one max wallet. The second one I didn't do a max wallet, which I wish I would have, but it's all good. It's still going really well. And now we see what we have now with ARK and where it's going. And I didn't even know the whole idea of what Atlas and Brett, and I didn't know all the stuff that they had planned. Because if I would have knew that, I would have probably did about 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 watts at private sale.
Yeah.
But
you want to get 10, that's why I want to do 10 wallets, in 3.5 years, you can have $1 million, generate $1 million.
Yeah. But I'm gonna build up to that. I'm gonna build up a whole bunch of wallets just in time. And what I see with the dApp is so successful, and it's really taking care of the investors, and the money that's being made is gonna always funnel back to the platform. Because why would you not want to take the money that you're making where you're making your money at and not put it back where you're making the money, invest more into that? It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can see the long-term projection. Of course, we have all this growth happening, but even the ones that's currently that's making that return, they're investing more into the dApp, whether they're opening new wallets, whether they're looking to buy NFTs. So the money's going to come back in the system because that's where the money's been made, But of course, we are going to need new investors, and I think that's where the utilities come in.
So you've been in a journey.
Yeah,
that's interesting. But you've been a business guy from very young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first business journey was selling drugs. That's my first business right there. Yeah. It's illegal, but it's a business. You got inventory.
inventory. You have to be able to
you got
sell. You
you got
know,
to do you got to do your booking right,
yeah,
all that stuff.
and you and you don't have problem with high risk businesses.
No, no, no. I ain't got a problem with high risk. I've been high risk for a long time.
Oh my God, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So so what were you? So do you talk to like what's the ages of the kids that you work with? Do you talk to them about uh, business, or they're not ready for that? Like, you
We
know,
we are 16 to 24, so
okay, yeah, that's a good age
we
to.
discuss everything because we have some that want to get into business, and you have some that don't. And one question I always have them, I ask them whenever I do talk with them, and it's important to ask because they have to be okay with this question: is are you okay with failure? That's very important when it comes to business because business don't always go as planned, and you have to be okay with your failures. Not saying it's a bad thing because failures are the best lessons. And I have to ask them that question because if they are getting into business, they have to be okay with failing. If you're not okay with failure, you won't last in business because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen. It always does. But at the same time, failure is the best lesson. You can always learn from your failure. And the mistakes you make always make you better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of,
Yes.
and like for me, even in crypto, I've made a lot of mistakes, but my mistakes outweigh my successes. I mean, my successes outweigh
Texas,
my
Alabama.
mistakes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I give you one big one that I made. Well, and and it's investment, but me and my analogy thinking that I'm gonna make all this money in a short period of time, which didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out. But it was a trusted team, trusted DApp. But in a lot of these ROI DApps, um, you have to have a group of participants that are going to play the game fair for a lot of them to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But you have greedy investors, and that is just what it is. You have whales. They'll come in with a large amount of money, and they'll snatch all the small guys out of the game, and that
Mm-hmm.
happens. So there was a particular DApp that lunch. I dropped about $8,000 in this DApp, and in my mind, if I can have it last a week with the compound interest and what I was looking at, I can compound my investment for 7 days, and in 5 days, I'll make my money back plus more. So I
Wow.
did that. So it was going very well. And then with a blank, like towards like day 6, here they come. Wells come in the game, and they come in a large amount, and they just withdraw, and they drained the whole contract. And I
Really?
lost $8,000 just that quick. And then, but what I did was, of course, I felt it made me, even though I'm playing with house money, that's house money that I made because, you know, playing out in this journey, I was in the days of these dexes launching these forums where you got APRs at over 1,000,000%. And it's nothing to put $1,000 in and print a few $1,000s in a matter of 30 minutes. That's how it used
Wow.
to be. That's not there no more. But
Yeah.
back then,
They
you could
had
jump in.
those.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
That's not those are the real. It's too good to be true.
Hey, it happened. Actually, Binance was one of the big ones. Binance was a big one. Polygon was a big one. Um, Back when Binance first launched, I was actually on PancakeSwap in the early days when PancakeSwap first launched. But yeah, like the APRs, like they'll launch these dexes, and as soon as that the countdown hits 0, you're in, and you're forming out thousands of dollars in no time, and you're just withdrawing, and you're building up your back. You get your ROI out, and then after that, you compound and you build that up, and you're just forming away, and you're building
Wow.
up these nice bags, and that's how I was able to get the most I've invested in crypto, literally out of personal money, is probably like $6,000. That's it. So what I do now is I've learned the game of learning how to make my investments make babies. So that's what I do. I take my investments, I put them in other ROI dApps to dApps, and I make babies out of them. And I continue to grow that way. And I believe in diversifying my portfolio to be able to do that. So if something happens to one dApp, I'm still good over here.
Yeah.
But also taking these risks, and being able to take the risk to gain a high reward is a big plus. But to the forming thing, about like I was saying, I lost the 8,000. Then come to find out, there was another form coming out. So I was like, okay, let me jump into this. So I made it back. Made it back in like a week. And that's how it was.
You were always in quick money.
Yeah.
I want the quick cash. Give me cash, baby.
Yeah, and one of the ones that Rug. You ever heard of Rug Doc?
No, I don't know all of them, but
Yeah, rugdoc.io was one of the ones he built. It's actually a team, but they built a dApp to where that's what they cover is forms. And what they did was when a new form come out, they list it, they risk the risk tolerance, whether it's high risk, low risk. I think it's still around. But they have a calendar as a forum lunches. I think they even started doing audits for these different forums, but they covered a lot of forums. And that's kind of how I used to get into these things from Rug Doc. But yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My whole entry into was very easy. I had these people goes, look, just open up a Coinbase account, buy some Bitcoin, Ethereum, Avalanche, and Mana, right? So I bought 500, 500, 250, 250, and it goes, just let it roll and just learn what happens,
Mm-hmm.
and just be with it and get a feel of it,
Yeah.
and that's how I got into and I still have those accounts. I'm like now I'm working with Rafael and I'm moving everything out of Coinbase into my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've been out of Coinbase a long time ago.
I don't, but, like I told you I'm a baby in this thing, right? And I saw it and it went down all the way, like it was like $1,500 total, more or less. So 1,750, it went down to like, I don't know, $400.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm about $1,100, $1,200. But
Okay.
so now I'm moving it out and putting it in, buying some other stuff and learning from Rafael and from Ark. And I got some, a little bit of a strategy in Ark to be able to have at least 2 or 3 wallets to generate so much, a month. I'm just looking at what I can generate per month, for my cash flow. And right now, my main thing is generating I started with 1,800, and my balance is going to be 12,000. And now I'm going to let it run at 1% and take instead of 60-40, 50-50, and generate. I'll be generating minimum 1,800 a month.
Yeah.
And start taking some of that money out and maybe reinvesting in other things. But so that I go, that's my first one, right? So then I started my second one. So I want to do the same thing with that, And I think
I think that's important when and that's one thing I've learned and I'm learning is establish a strategy with your passive income streams and have a direction because sometimes and I've done it, but you're investing in something and you're making this money, but what are you doing with that money that you got coming in? What are you going to do with it? And it's good to have a strategy of and that's what I'm going to get to with Ark is every wallet I set up has a specific function. Whether one of them is for investments, One of them is for bills. One of them could be for just paying me a monthly income.
Yeah.
Establishing these different wallets to do certain functions. And that's kind of, and I even thought about starting a wallet just for new investors, I've been thinking about it, doing that as I get these returns. What a gift it would be to have talk to investors and say, hey, I want you to invest in ARK and I want you to see your money grow. And I'm going to spot you 100 ARK just to get in.
Yeah.
And get them in, they can see the potential of the growth and they see it growing. And now they're locked in as an investor because now they see what's happening. And they didn't even have to invest in it. I did the initial investment, but it's a gift to get you started, so that you can see the power of this thing.
Yeah, that's what I did with my like branding guy that I used from Venezuela. He couldn't afford it, so I started him, so he can be there and start generating, and he's so happy, like
Yeah.
and and then people already like I just started one of my business partners, he's a financial guy and everything. He thought I was crazy, blah blah blah. He's getting in, and he already has like he's gonna open up two for his grandkids, two other ones for key employees, right? And now he's talking, like he's and he hasn't even. I think he's onboarding now with Brad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because he's not like a computer guy, so he's like. But he goes, I understand this. I know what you guys are doing. I love, like it's high risk. I tell everybody this is high investment. But he goes, I'm playing.
Yeah.
He said, I'm playing. He got it. Like once he understood it, he's playing. So, and then there's somebody else that wants to, she's kind of like a yogi. She lives in Costa Rica. She wants to create the flow to generate enough money to buy a piece of land. And live there. And then she goes, and maybe eventually I can start one for my daughter if everything goes well. So when she grows up, she can have, money so she can go to school or whatever she wants to do with it. So, so this, so that's the benefit to me is like, there's so many people out there in need of being able to cover their necessities. There's a lot of stress out there, man.
It is.
With all the inflation, everything there, and most people, are living in debt.
Yeah.
I was one of those. And it's crazy. That's like.
But but the current system that we're living off is a debt system, and I think the problem is people are not using debt. Not saying debt is a bad thing,
Yeah.
but you have to use it the right way.
You have to leverage it. If you can leverage it and in a right way, like buying a house or something, and then appreciate. But
even one thing I've learned is even that, buying a house, yes, you can use debt to buy a house, but then it's still, when you buy a house with debt, it's still
it's a
not an
drain on you.
asset.
It's a fixed expense that you're paying every month.
Yeah. So the idea of debt is using debt as leverage to make more income, and have that debt being paid off by that income that you use as leverage. And then over time, as you build your assets, then I tell my students all the time, they're new, because me and my wife had an opportunity, when we were young, but we didn't know, we're dumb. We didn't know, we didn't have that. I wouldn't say dumb. We were not educated
You
of how
weren't
to
aware or educated on the thing, right?
So we will rent out a duplex, and the guy that owned the duplex, he gave us the opportunity to buy it. And he said, what I would do is take all money you spent on rent, and you can use it as a down payment. And the price was really good, and but we weren't thinking, But now I tell my students, I was like, if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy your first house, buy you a duplex. And the reason why I tell them about duplex is because you're renting, you're going to get a loan in that duplex. You're going to stay on one side and you're going to rent out the other side. And that tenant that's staying on the other side is going to pay your mortgage for you.
Mm-hmm.
So now you own a property that you don't have to pay your mortgage because your tenants are going to pay your mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them to do that because we had the opportunity to do that and we missed our opportunity. Not saying we missed it. We still probably could have did it, but we had a great opportunity to do it and we didn't do it. So I always share that with them, because they have the opportunity knowing that they're young, you're getting started. A lot of times we're young, we want this big house. Even buying a big house, having a mansion is it's beautiful, but it's a lot of expenses that come with that. But we don't think about it. You have taxes, you have expenses because if something breaks. Like I got a nice size house, we got 3 AC units. So imagine all 3 of them going down. That's a nice expense that we got to pay, and then the taxes is pretty high. So it's a lot that comes with it. But, we're thankful that we've built up the life to be able to sustain and to be able to be comfortable in a nice size house, and also crypto has helped a lot with that, and it's I think people just have to educate themselves, especially when they're young. And I always share, like, these kids, they feel like education is not what they need, but it's all we need, and the more we're educated, the more we're able to make better decisions, and the better off we are in life, and that's kind of where the lack is I see in this new generation, and a lot of them don't like to read books, but the knowledge is in the books.
Yeah, they got that. It's like me. I got all my books in my phone.
But still, they're in there. But even if you want to,
and I read it. I read them.
Yeah, but even a podcast, if you don't want to read, listen. Like
yeah,
it's not podcast. It's audio books.
Yeah, yeah.
YouTube. I call YouTube University. I always say you go to YouTube University. You learn everything for free.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I ask people. I tell them I'm a breath facilitator. So, I love breath work, and I go, what kind of breaths do you practice? And they go, box breathing. I go, what do you learn it? Oh, I learn it in YouTube. That's the most famous one. It's in YouTube. It's box breathing, right?
Yeah.
But they go, okay, that's cool. At least you're doing one breath technique,
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. We're in 2023. We step out into 2033, 10 years from now. What does your life look like? What did you create in this world? Like if you step back, you're sitting 2033. What was the vision you had? How did it manifest? Or what do you think you're going to see?
Well, my vision is creating, and I'm working on this now, is creating a consulting company for crypto, and it's more for the educational side, for new investors, taking the knowledge that I've gained and being able to teach and onboard people, give them the knowledge to succeed, taking all my mistakes and teaching others. I plan on building that out, and I want to build that out. Also, all the work that I'm doing, especially investment wise, is not for me. I'm not building it for me. It's for my daughter. It's for the future generation. I'm building a legacy that's gonna outlast me and outlast my kids, and that's my goal for what I do for my investments. So I'm building all this stuff up, teaching forward into kids, changing lives. My idea also where I work at is to change many more. I don't even know how many lives I've changed over the years. I know it's a lot. But every life matters any person that comes in this office is a life that I can change in a moment. So I plant seeds as they come. Even, I've run into people in the public, and I pour anybody I can pour into, I pour into. And I do that without it's not a cost for that. Like I tell my students all the time, they don't have to pay me for this job. Whether they pay me or not, I'm gonna do it. So for me, this is work, but it's not work because this is my life, and this is what I do. So my future self is having my own consulting company, doing my own thing. Starting, I want to also is I'm planning that out. Is to start there's nothing in this area regarding crypto education regarding because I work in a college. They're not talking about it. It's nowhere. So I want to build something within this community for that. I don't really 100% know what that looks like, but I'm still kind of trying to plan that out. So also becoming that crypto expert, not just on my knowledge, but on paper. And that's what I'm actually attending courses right now to gain that. Also, plan on hopefully having my daughter involved, especially with the YouTube stuff and I want to build a YouTube studio. So what that means is a studio for entertainment wise, studio for rental space for individuals that maybe don't have the funds to be able to do their own channel. Of course, we'll have two different parts. We'll have one that is free regarding people that are new and they just want to get themselves started. So we'll work on maybe finding out a way to get grants to be able to get that done. And then also for ones that are already in the game, but just want a more professional setting, or someone that's traveling and they just need a space to do their stream, we'll be there, So that's another thing that I'm building for the future.
Wow. And when you did that and you implemented all those people that you helped, how are they feeling?
Great. They're great. They're great. And my idea is not just me just helping them, but taking what I've taught and put it in someone else's life. Don't just take it for yourself. Don't be selfish. Pour in someone else because people need, and I believe that the biggest issue with the industry too is the lack of education. There's a lot of people pushing projects, but there's not a lot of educated. And people need to be educated because the more education we have in the space, the more investors we have, the more smart investors we have, and that also it plays into even some of these scams that's around. People won't be investing into these scams. They'll invest in really real and legit projects because they know how to do the research and know what it is.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome what you're doing. It's it fits into my vision of a world that breathes happy. So I see all those people breathing happy, making money, taking care of their families, being able to do what they want to do in life that is important to them because they got cash flow, they're more educated, they're friendlier, they're helping each other, and that to me that falls in within a world that breathes happy.
I agree.
Instead of walking around, just pissed off and angry and living like you say, like living in fear and stuff like that. It's coming from love. It's just having a whole world full of love.
And that's what people really want. People want
absolutely.
That's all people really want. They just want someone to love them.
Yeah,
they can act as hard as they want, but all they want is love.
Absolutely. And they can have that right now.
Yeah.
It's not the money that's going to get it. If they can come from love and from being happy, then they're going to create it instead of trying to have the money to be happy because you never get there.
Yep.
Because you make the
Yeah.
money, you might lose it, or okay, I got it one now, right? It's like they're not
And you
connected.
know what they say? They say money edifies what you already are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were miserable and you get money, you're gonna be a lot more miserable.
Yeah. You're gonna be a miserable millionaire.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people that go, no, I'm going to move somewhere because I feel like hell there. Well, when you get there, you're going to feel like hell there.
Yeah. 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 It's a mindset, man. People just
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
yeah.
let, is there anything else you want to say? Do you have a tip that you want to give some people? Leave them with one tip, if they're
Um.
looking,
The,
you know.
well, the main tip I have is just really just educate yourself. Stay informed. Find some communities to be involved in. Ark is a great one. It's a great community. And I can say Ark is one of the most positive environments I've ever seen in crypto. Like ever. Like I haven't seen any kind of negativity, bad vibes. Haven't seen it. And I've been around for a while, and that speaks a lot of volumes with the leadership because the
Mhm.
people only lead where the leaders take them. So the leadership is a great leadership, and that's kind of wise the way. So I always say, just educate yourself. I do every Tuesday. I do like a crypto meetup. Um, maybe I can send you the link for it so you can post it in the video or whatever. I do a crypto meetup every Tuesday at 8:45 p.m. EST every Tuesday, and it's just crypto education. We're not chilling no projects. We're just talking about crypto, educating. Like this
Mhm.
yesterday we did how to research projects. So we just every week it's a different subject, different topic, and we're just educating. That's all we're doing.
Awesome. So how can people, get in touch with you if they want to, maybe go do the work, or they want to talk to you, or, like, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. We have Twitter is where I hang out the most nowadays. Twitter
Mhm.
or Telegram. So you have the Crypto K Telegram, and you have Donatello Invest on crypto. I mean on Twitter, and then Donatello Investing on YouTube. So them are the three spots to
Mhm.
find me. Twitter is probably Twitter and Telegram,
Uh-huh.
or yeah, them the main areas where you can find me at for the most. But I'm on Twitter a lot
Okay.
lately. So
All right. Anything else?
no, I'm excited to be able to come on here and do this. I never really done an interview, so you were the first one. So
God, that was,
yeah,
you were great. You were real. You have a story to tell, and and you're helping a lot of people, and 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 you bought that experience from your life, right?
mm-hmm,
To support, you had to go through that to be who you are today.
exactly. Yep, I agree.
You follow me? So, and
Mm-hmm,
and you're doing it, man. I can feel it when you do I can see it in your videos when you talk,
mm-hmm,
and so I loved it that you took it on to be in the call, and
yeah, yeah,
you know, we'll keep doing it. We'll just keep creating a world that breathes happy, that makes money happy, that can help people,
mm-hmm,
live their dreams,
mm-hmm.
in a way that everybody wins instead of everybody losing.
Yep,
So
yep, yep.
thank you again, and we'll see you the next time. So
Thank you
for
for
everybody
inviting me.
else, I hope you enjoyed Donatello's story. You know where to get a hold of him now, and see you next week. Uh, so namaste. Remember, breathe happy, live happy.